Coming up, I'm going to be talking about how Disney Plus is falling behind Amazon and Netflix, plus also how well the Bears done and much more. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. Hi, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for a quick Disney Plus news roundup. So let's start off with talking about Paramount Plus, because according to CNBC, they are apparently in talks now with Warner Bros. Discovery about potentially creating either a new streaming service or merging together Max and Paramount Plus together to create one super streaming service, because obviously we've seen a lot of big changes with Paramount over the last sort of year. They've been going through sort of battling off takeover bids from Skydance and Sony. They've been in talks with Comcast, and now apparently they're in talks with not just Warner Bros. They're also in talks with other tech companies about bringing in their content to the platform. So this is a couple of interesting things. Now, the reason why I'm talking about it today in terms of Disney Plus, because should Paramount Plus merge with Max, this could also have implications for Disney Plus, because we heard earlier this year they are planning on launching a new bundle with Disney Plus and Max together. We're also going to be getting a bundle where they can put together Disney Plus, Max, Hulu, and also the new Venue Sports together. So all these bundles are starting to come together. So if Max and Paramount Plus were to come one thing, that would definitely, make that maybe part of the bundle, which is going to be interesting to see how this moves forward. Paramount is trying to work out how to handle the streaming wars. They invested a lot of money into it and they are losing money. They've got about 70 million subscribers globally. In some countries across Europe, they've teamed up with Comcast for Sky Showtime, but in other countries they haven't. And generally, they are just not able to scale up. They're spending money on originals but aren't really getting anywhere with it. They've cut back on what they're spending on. They're just not big enough to compete with Disney and with Netflix and Amazon, and therefore are looking for a partner. And obviously there are some partners looking for ways of teaming up to reduce their costs, but also to have more content to compete with Disney Plus and also Netflix and Amazon. I wouldn't be at all surprised if, I would hope that Disney have at least had some talks with Paramount as well. Maybe that could be something that they could look at. But I don't think Disney would be in a position where they want to be spending out money sort of on this. They were just about to pay off Comcast. That's going to cost them billions. They're investing heavily into their ESPN content, and they're trying to cut back on spending as well. So don't think Disney's necessarily going to be getting in and doing any deals. But if this thing with Warner Bros. Comes about, it could end up becoming, part of it. Now, whether or not Max becomes an add-on within Disney Plus, that could be an option. We don't really know much details at all about how this bundle is going to work, whether or not they just keep them separate and that's just, you save a couple of bucks by having them together, or if it's actually going to be available within it. We're just going to have to wait and see. That's what they do with Hulu. You can get Max through there, and also Paramount Plus, you can access them both through it. We're definitely seeing streaming services trying to cut back, and there's just too many of them. There's only so many we can subscribe to, and they're not all going to make it. And Paramount Plus, let's just say, I don't think this one's going to make it much longer. My annual subscription's up in November. I'm going to be cancelling it. I'm not going to be renewing it. There's just not enough on there for me personally to think that it's worth doing. And I think they're going to end up licensing this content out. I think with Paramount, they're trying to work out, how they can stay in the game but also be out the game. I don't think they want to go full Sony where they're just licensing stuff out. I think that's probably where they're going to be heading anyway. But I don't see Paramount Plus being around for too long. But whether or not it's interconnected with Warner Bros. Discovery streaming service, I don't know, but this could have implications then on Disney Plus, on the bundle, but also just more competition. That Disney, there's a lot of competition out there, and they're going to have to up their game if they want to compete with all of these different platforms. But let us know. Do you think this is a good move, a bad move? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Shifting gears now, let's now talk about The Bear Season 3. So last week, they released the entire second season on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus in the United States and on Disney Plus in a number of countries around the world. Now, Disney has confirmed that over the first 4 days, the first episode from that third season was watched 5.2 million times and is the most watched FX premiere on Hulu and Disney Plus so far. It has been a huge hit. Now, obviously 5 million doesn't sound a huge amount compared to some of the other big shows, but obviously for FX, this is big. And also, this show is not going to cost as much as something like The Acolyte or Percy Jackson. A lot of their special effects, they can wrap it around a bit quicker. But a big win for Disney. The fact that they have put this out there publicly as well, they're very proud of it. Obviously the biggest show for FX. They also said that viewership is up over 20% on the last premiere for season 2. Though I'm going to kind of call a little bit of shenanigans on that, because probably there's a good reason why it's got better viewership globally, was because with the second season, we didn't get it for weeks after the US. So therefore, just by putting in a load of extra countries, it was going to boost up the viewership anyway. So yeah, it is up 20% on season 2, which is great, but there was probably a reason for that, because it didn't launch everywhere globally at the same time. So I think as people checked it out, I do think with The Bear season 3, it was a little bit iffy. I wasn't so keen on the third season compared to the previous ones. Didn't really get anywhere. That's my problem for it. It does seem like the buzz over the series kind of whiffed a little bit. It's kind of, drifted off a little bit. Maybe over the week this week with obviously July the 4th, more people would check it out. Obviously, it's a big hit. Nice to see Disney getting these ones, and the fact that, again, they put out this information themselves shows they are really proud of this number. But also just show, really, 5 million viewers over 4 days globally just doesn't sound a lot. Doesn't sound a lot when you can think of what shows used to get. But obviously over time they do sort of come together and stuff. But let me know, did you check out The Bear season 3? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below and what you think of this entire situation. Let me know. Let's now talk about Disney Plus and kind of how it's failing to match up with Netflix and Amazon. So this is with regard to some information that came out from some new data from Ampere Analytics, which has been looking at all the sort of new commissions for new shows and stuff that have been coming out of all the different platforms so far. And as of right now, Disney Plus is way below where Netflix and Amazon is. Now, there's been a little bit of an uptick, and they are still the third biggest platform in terms of new commissions, but they are drastically down on years ago. And there's not a huge surprise, really, with this in terms of how many originals, especially internationally, because you can just tell with the amount of announcements there are. I especially notice we are not getting those announcements at the same speed and frequency that we used to. Sometimes it can be almost weeks between shows being announced. Obviously, seeing things return, etc. But that doesn't count. So for shows coming back for a second season or a third season, that's not necessarily maybe counting as a new commission. So therefore, that wouldn't be coming out. And I think like Disney and the legacy studios and stuff, they have a lot more long-running shows, whereas Netflix and especially like and Amazon stuff, they're all still in the new zone where they're still just like launching new stuff all the time. Now, in terms of obviously international stuff, Disney has been cutting back, and it's a lot less than in some regions. I know, for example, like in India, we're seeing a lot of like new commissions being done there. And I don't know whether or not this data, does it include Star India? How does that all work? They're selling that off. Very hit and miss with how all this stuff comes together, but definitely seeing Disney kind of dropping off, and it's slightly coming back, but it's nowhere near the levels that it used to be. And I don't know really if Netflix and Amazon are going to be able to continue this trend of just commissioning new content. They're going for bigger audiences all over the place. Disney kind of went, yeah, we're kind of easing back on that. We're still getting a lot of stuff from Korea and Japan. Obviously, they're still making a lot in India. Latin America, there's still originals coming out there in Europe. They're still doing them, but by no means there's a lot less. And yeah, it's just sort of trending through. But even Netflix has been sort of pulling back on the amount of movies it's releasing. It's realizing that strategy of constantly needing new movies isn't really working. So yeah, it's not really a surprise that Disney are falling back. Hopefully we start going back and seeing a few more stuff coming in as they kind of get into that right zone. But they're only really going to be commissioning stuff that works, that they know is going to work, pulling the audiences, and yeah, unfortunately they've just been cutting back. But let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Let's now talk about what's new on Disney Plus today for Tuesday. So the major new released the season finale of Clip. This is the FX series. I'll be watching this one later with my wife. I've enjoyed the series so far. Looking to see where it ends. I haven't been looking into like what actually really happened. I just want to finish off the show, but that's the major new release for today. And obviously you've got a new episode of Star Wars The Acolyte, and I'll be talking about that one tomorrow. Let's now jump into the question of the day. This one comes from Happy Trailer Reactor, who says, my question is, I've been thinking about this for a while. With mainstream TV, we have so much low quality content for less money investment. We don't talk about how bad a show is on TV, do we? But there's so much hate, negative angle on movies and series on streaming services. Shouldn't we expect the same content for streaming when regular TV is on its way out? We cannot expect everything to be high-end. I mean, it would bankrupt the platform. What's your opinion? Yes, you are very, very right in the fact of sort of linear television can kind of get away with stuff a lot more than things on streaming. And I think it's probably more to do with like the target age group. So maybe younger audiences are more likely going to be on social media, and the streaming shows dropping on there are going to get much more reaction. I think especially as well, a lot of the big streaming shows often are based on big franchises which have an established base, and a lot of them are based on like shows that have been around for a while, so therefore again there's more sort of noise about it. So if you've got a show, for example, like Under the Bridge, that comes out, it's not going to have that same like buzz around it than something like The Acolyte or The Boys or something like that. But yeah, linear television gets away with having a lot lower quality. You know, there's a lot more, and I think a lot of it is so many more people are used to that. You know, there's been this whole thing of like, well, all the best stuff's on streaming and it's not on linear, and you know, some of the linear shows, like especially on like ABC, you know, they may be made for more older audiences. And I think there is that thing of like expectations, those seem to be a little bit lower. But also I think we've been treated way too well with too many shows arriving on streaming that are, you know, much higher quality, really good stuff. And, you know, you've got an audience that's grown up now that's what they expect. And they view some of these linear shows as like, you know, they're not quite up to the standard. The simple truth is, a lot of those linear shows are watched much more than anything on streaming, and there's different tastes. And I feel this is something that's definitely lost, especially within the social media, YouTube kind of bundle, you know, where everyone's in their little bubble and echo chamber of, there's this kind of thing of like, there's a you know, a crowd and you know, goes around, you know, like what you like. The simple truth is television needs content for different people, different tastes, different genres, different, you know, not everything needs to be the same. Not everything can be a House of the Dragons or anything like that. You know, we need game shows and documentaries, and you need, you know, soaps and drama series and light-hearted stuff, comedies. We need a selection. Not everything needs to be big, epic drama based on a franchise. You know, the big shows that you pull people in, they do people in on social media, but generally, you know, something like Grey's Anatomy or something like that is generally pulling in more viewers than these big shows, but it doesn't get the same attention. And I think it's just, I would say sometimes a little bit of snobbery from some people about the idea of linear television is, you know, not as good. Simple truth is some of that stuff's been around for a long time because it works, and yeah, they can make stuff cheaper. And I think there's this like weird thing where, yeah, the online community, especially like, is just much more like engrossed in streaming and think that's the only way of watching television, and only old people watch it the old way. But as an old person myself, yeah, there's a reason why this stuff works, and why a lot of it is coming back, and why so much stuff that's actually, when you look at the Nielsen streaming charts, a lot of the regular normal TV shows are pulling in just as big, if not bigger numbers than all these streaming hits that are literally flavour of the week, and they move on the next week and then they get cancelled and you never hear from them again. But these long-running linear shows are running for decades. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this as well. Let me know. If you've got a question, I'll answer it, and it's cool. If there's something cool there, a nice one for tomorrow, I'll pick that one out. But on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Laters.